The Tower of London has a dark and bloody past. It was founded towards the end of 1066 as part of the Norman conquest. The White Tower, which gives the entire castle its name, was built by William the Conqueror in 1078. The castle was also used as a prison from 1100 until 1952, with notable inhabitants as Anne Boleyn, the Cray twins, Guy Fawkes and Joseph Jacobs, who was the last man put to death in the tower. Executions were a regular occurrence at the tower. In total 135 took place there, dating from 1388 to 1941. Anything from hanging to quartering took place in the tower, but beheading was most popular. Anne Boleyn was King Henry VIII's second wife. They married the 25th of January 1533 after Henry divorced his first wife Catherine of Aragon, this causing the Pope to excommunicate Henry and thus founding the Protestant religion. Henry VIII had Anne investigated for high treason in April 1536. On the 2nd of May, she was arrested and sent to the Tower of London. It is likely that Anne may have entered through the court gate in the Byward Tower rather than the Traitors' Gate. 3 days later, Anne and George Boleyn were tried separately in the Tower of London, before a jury of 27 peers. She was accused of adultery, incest, and high treason by the Treason Act of Edward III. Adultery on the part of a queen was a form of treason for which the penalty was hanging, drawing and quartering for a man and burning alive for a woman. On the morning of Friday, the 19th of May, Anne made her final walk from the Queen's house to the scaffold. Then Anne climbed the scaffold and made a short speech to the crowd. The ermine mantle was removed and Anne lifted off her headdress, tucking her hair under a coif. After a brief farewell to her weeping ladies and a request for prayers, she kneeled down and one of her ladies tied a blindfold over her eyes. She knelt upright, in the French style of executions. Her final prayer consisted of her repeating continually, "Jesus, receive my soul. O Lord God, have pity on my soul." The silence was deafening as the crowd waited for the executioner to strike. The only sound was Anne whispering her prayers. The executioner, visibly shaken by the atmosphere and by Anne's courage, noticed that the Queen kept turning her head slightly, anticipating the blow, so he called out to his assistant to pass him his sword. As Anne moved her head to follow what the assistant was doing, the executioner came up behind her unnoticed and beheaded her with one stroke. On the 9th of April, 1483, Edward IV of England died unexpectedly after an illness lasting around 3 weeks. At the time, Edward's son, the new King Edward V, was at Ludlow Castle. The dead king's brother, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, was at Midleham Castle in Yorkshire. Edward V and Gloucester set out for London from the west and north respectively, meeting at Stony Stratford on the 29th of April. The following morning, Gloucester arrested Edward's retinue including the boy's uncle, Anthony Woodville, 2nd Earl Rivers, and their half-brother Sir Richard Grey. They were sent to Pontefract Castle in Yorkshire where, on the 25th of June, Gloucester then took possession of the prince himself, prompting Elizabeth Woodville to take her other son, Richard, Duke of York, and her daughters into sanctuary at Westminster Abbey. Plans continued for Edward's coronation, but the date was postponed from the 4th of May to the 25th of June. On the 19th of May, 1483, Edward was lodged in the Tower of London, then the traditional residence of monarchs prior to coronation. On Sunday the 22nd of June, a sermon was preached by Dr. Ralph Shah, brother of the Lord Mayor of London, claiming Gloucester to be the only legitimate heir of the House of York. On the 25th of June, a group of lords, knights and gentlemen petitioned Richard to take the throne. Both princes were subsequently declared illegitimate by Parliament. Gloucester was crowned King Richard III of England on the 3rd of July. After Richard III seized the throne, Edward and his younger brother Richard were taken into the inner apartments of the Tower and then were seen less and less until they disappeared altogether. They were smothered in their sleep. The king is believed to have killed his 12- and 9-year-old nephews. A rebellion against Richard in 1483 initially aimed to rescue Edward V and his brother from the Tower before it was too late, but that didn't happen. When the Duke of Buckingham became involved, it shifted to support of Henry Tudor because Buckingham almost certainly knew that the princes in the Tower were dead. With Richard III now in control, it's unlikely that anyone would dare raise the issue after the princes disappeared. Please like and subscribe. Also follow me on Instagram and TikTok at DuckHisstory2021.